Democrats will do anything to keep illegal aliens in this country. The question is, why? Well, I'm going to ask one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the Tomi Lahren is Fearless YouTube page at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. Liberal Tuesday starts right now. It's tax day, liberal Christmas, if you will. But as much as Democrats love taxes, or I guess more accurately, love to confiscate your hard-earned money to pay for their pet projects, there is one thing Democrats seem to love more than that. And spoiler alert, that thing is illegal immigration and even the illegal aliens themselves. They will, and they have, and they are going to the ends of the earth to make this man their poster child, their hero, their martyr. Karmelo Abrego Garcia, and the hacks and the fake stream media are happy to carry their water too, or at least try to until they're slapped down by not one, not two, but three Trump administration officials. Behold, the best thing you'll see all week.
I plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported. The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country.
So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world. No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador.
Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to be suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right? How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous.
So you can release him inside El Salvador?
Yeah, but I'm not releasing, I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin, except for Venezuela that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President, no, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court.
Karmelo Abrego Garcia is an illegal alien, and an illegal alien that's been determined to be an MS-13 gang member by two courts and the Prince George County authorities. But that's not enough for Democrats. No, they keep going to bat for this dude. He is their new George Floyd. I'd expect golden statues erected any day now. But he's done nothing wrong, they claim, and they want him back. You can't make this stuff up. Elected Democrats really want you to play Russian roulette with the illegal alien gang members in your community. You know, they might murder or rape you. They may not. I guess just roll the dice. It's unfathomable, but here to help me fathom it is former comms director to Representative Hakeem Jeffries, my good friend and a Liberal Tuesday regular. Thank you so much for coming back, Michael Hardaway. Let's just dive right in, because I'm sure you've got a lot of thoughts. And the internet has a lot of thoughts on Kilmar Abrego Garcia. So what is your take on this individual? Is he the new pillar of the community for the Democrat Party?
Well. It's good to be with you again, Tommy. And by good, I mean bad. But I'm good to be here. Happy to be here and happy to talk about this insanity that's happening, because this is not about this one guy. Understand one thing. Republicans are gaslighting. They're misdirecting. None of those things means anything. The only thing we should be thinking about is the United States Constitution, which is under assault. The Supreme Court and the judicial branch of this country said that this man was deported and should come back. The Trump administration made an error, as they've done other times, in deporting someone who should have not been deported. They are then saying we don't have to listen to the Constitution.
Michael, I'm going to let you finish, but I have to ask you a question. I have to just intervene quickly. Okay.
Yes.
Should not have been deported. If you're an illegal alien, you are up for deportation. Is that not correct?
Tommy, I'll tell you what I know. What I know is that the Supreme Court said this man should come back. What I know is that in 2019, an immigration judge allowed this man to live and work in the United States of America. So what's happening here is this. You know what this is? This is like dating someone who does something wrong, and then they try to gaslight you when you bring it up. That's exactly what's happening here. The Trump administration made a massive mistake and deported a man who has a family. They are then saying, oh, there's nothing we can do to bring this man back to the country that we deported him to, even though the Constitution and the judicial branch is telling us that you have to do it. It's not about this man, Tommy. It's about this slippery slope that we're heading on.
Well, it is about
with the Constitution.
Okay.
That's what it's about.
But it is about the man. It is about him, because he's an illegal alien. He's an illegal alien from El Salvador.
In what context?
He's an illegal alien because he came to this country illegally in 2011. So he's.
I just told you that a judge in 2019 allowed him to stay to live and work in the United States.
A judge in 2019 also said he was affiliated with MS-13.
Wait, so are you acknowledging that the judge allowed him to stay and work in the United States? How can you be illegal if a judge said that you can stay to live and work? Now, which one is it?
Well, the Biden administration also allowed hundreds of thousands of people to come into this country.
But Tommy, you're not answering my question.
They determined him to be, not only is he an illegal alien, established, not one but two courts. Michael,
Tommy,
he didn't come to this country illegally?
I just told you that in 2019, a judge said he can live here and work here.
Did he come to this country illegally?
I don't know is the answer to your question.
The answer is yes.
Honestly, I don't know. If he came here illegally, how?
He came illegally in 2011. So you can talk to me about judges all day long, but when you come to this country illegally, you are eligible for deportation.
Tommy,
he is an El Salvadoran
this is not a dictatorship.
National.
We're a democracy. There are three co-equal branches of government. The judicial branch is equal to the executive branch, where the president is. The Constitution sets this up. So if the judicial branch says something should happen, they are a counterbalance to the executive branch. And the judicial branch has said, per the Constitution, bring this man back. And Donald Trump's response is to give the finger to the Constitution.
Did the Supreme Court also rule that this district court judge does not have authority to be making foreign policy decisions on behalf of the president?
That's not what they're doing. They're not making foreign policy. This is black and white. Do we believe in a Constitution or do we not?
Not for illegals. Illegal immigrants do not.
I'm not talking about any one person. My question to you is, what's more important, Donald Trump or the United States Constitution? Because in my view, the Constitution matters the most. It survives any administration. It survives any generation. If you're telling me that you're willing to...
What constitutional protections does this illegal alien have?
Who says he's an illegal alien? But he's not. What I'm saying is that, Tommy, you're not being honest here.
Michael, a judge in 2019 you know damn well he's an illegal alien.
That he can live and stay.
You know damn well he's an illegal alien.
I know
So
a
if
judge said that he isn't.
If you want to debate back and forth over whether he's a gang member or not, I'm
no,
actually
no,
happy to have
no.
that conversation.
Let's not move
But
the
there
goalposts
is-
here.
There is no discrepancy if he's an illegal alien. You and
That's
I,
not true.
we can talk
It's
about
just
him
not
being
true.
a gang member.
It's just
Michael,
not true,
did he
Tommy.
not come to this country illegally in 2011? Because that's been an
You
established
can't
fact.
be illegal if a judge says that you can stay to live and work.
You can
that doesn't
be
make any
illegal
sense.
if you came into this country illegally. That's
That's
all
false.
it takes. That's all it takes. Come into the
It's
country
false
illegally.
when a judge then follows up and says you can stay. Come on, what are we talking about here?
A judge in 2019, not one but two judges, said this man is affiliated with MS-13. So if these judges are saying that he's affiliated with MS-13 and he's also
Tell me
an illegal
specifically
alien,
what that judge said.
why do you... It was the Prince George County law enforcement, as well as two judges, as Pam Bondi laid out in the clip that I played for you, that said that he is affiliated with MS-13. Now, if you want to talk about...
Can you just educate me? I'm just not familiar with what his gang connection is. So can you just educate me specifically on what was said and what the connection is?
Yeah, two judges said that he is affiliated with MS-13. This comes from apparently an informant that said he was a member of MS-13. Apparently, he was given an opportunity to denounce or renounce MS-13. He was not able to do that, did not do that. So he was determined in 2019, he was determined by a judge to be affiliated with MS-13. Now, if you want to say that that determination was incorrect.
Then why, if that is true, let's just assume all that is true. Then why is the Trump White House saying that it accidentally deported him?
No, they
if
didn't
that is
say,
the case,
no,
why are they saying they did it
Michael,
by accident?
Michael, they didn't accidentally deport him. The question of the
Tommy.
administrative error was the specific flight that he was on. That was an administrative error.
That's fake news, Tommy, and you know
It's
it.
not
You know it is.
Michael, it's not. So you and I, we can't really go any further because we are now disputing just reality. The administrative error wasn't that this person was up for deportation. The administrative error was the flight itself that he was on. And the
Tommy.
Supreme Court said that the Trump administration had to facilitate his return. Well, they sat there with the president of El Salvador. The president said, nope, I'm not sending him back. So that was the
Which is a what? Which is
facilitation.
what? It's an assault on the Constitution of the United States. Donald Trump has declared war on the Constitution. He is saying, I don't care what the founders said. I am a dictator. What I say goes. I don't care what the Supreme Court says. I don't care what judges say. That's what this is about, Tommy. And it is a slippery slope. If you're saying this one man in the White House can decide who can stay in this country and who can leave, regardless of their legal status, that is not a democracy. And that is exactly what you're saying to me that Donald Trump is doing, and you find that to be acceptable, which breaks my heart.
I find it acceptable to deport illegal aliens. True.
Why do you hate America, Tommy?
Hate America. Michael.
Why? I just want to know why.
You know damn good and well I don't hate America. And I've done a deep dive into this because this is what I will give you. I like to throw a bone. I will give you that this particular case involving Kilmar Abrego Garcia is murky. I will give you that the administration needs to go to extra lengths to explain to the American people why this individual is a gang member and was deported. I will give you that. But what
Why
I
haven't
won't
they done
give
that?
you, well, they did yesterday in the Oval Office.
No,
Do I
they
think-
didn't. First of all, Tommy, Pam Bondi's not a serious law enforcement individual. First of all,
now
second of all,
now you're gonna say the person that loves the Constitution and loves America is gonna tell me that somebody who's been confirmed by the Senate to be our Attorney General is not a serious
he's
person?
not a serious person. And I'm just saying this as a comms guy, as a PR guy. They should have sold this. If you're telling me all these things are true that you've laid out, why are they not selling this case to the American public? Instead, they're lying and gaslighting and misdirecting. If what you're saying is true and he's here illegally and he's a gang member, this is an easy sell to the American public as it relates to why this needs to happen. That's not what's happening. They're bumbling this like they bumbled everything else, like they bumbled the economy, which is why when I go to the store and buy eggs, they're $74.
Well, actually,
right?
the egg prices have gone down. So again,
That's
we're
not true.
disputing realities.
It's at a
It is
historic high.
true. It
Tommy,
is true. Egg prices
today-
have gone down.
They're at historic highs right today as we sit here. Today. It's a historic high for
Egg
eggs
prices have
in
gone
America.
down. Inflation is also cooling thanks to the report.
Trump inflation is still rising, by the way. I'll point that out.
Actually,
Listen,
inflation is cooling.
can we just talk about the economy for a minute?
Oh, I would love to. Let's talk about the economy.
So where are we? Like, Trump has been in office for 4 months.
Okay.
Everything is worse. Our
Everything is
401ks
worse.
and our retirement accounts are in free fall. The stock market is in free fall. Prices are up on nearly everything that we buy, from gas to food
Gas
to
prices
everything
are also
there may
down.
be.
Michael,
He's
gas
destroying
prices
the
are down.
economy.
What are you talking about? You can't
Tommy.
tell me that gas prices are not down. This is not a disputable fact.
The price
here.
of nearly everything is up since Trump has come into the White House. He's literally
Michael,
destroying the
gas
global
really
economy.
up? Is the price of gas really up?
Tommy, literally everything costs
really up?
more under him being president.
You're not-
And by the way, let's talk about the tariffs that are meant to destroy the global economy. These morons can't even get the calculus right as it relates to how you calculate enacting tariffs on countries. The math is wrong. And I'm saying this as a guy who studied economics.
Where's the math?
He got it wrong.
Enlighten
It's
me.
not even that it's a bad policy, which it is. The math is just wrong.
Enlighten
These
me.
guys are morons.
Where's the math wrong?
Morons, Tommy.
Where is the math wrong?
The math, because the equation that they use to calculate who should get what tariffs, first of all, they got it from ChatGPT, which I think is crazy, but it's also just wrong. That's not how you calculate how you should enact tariffs on someone. There are smaller countries, for instance, that might just make socks. They have a very small economy, and it's a bunch of factories, and they just make socks that they deport to the United States. It's wrong to say, because you only deport socks to us and you don't buy our stuff, that we're going to enact this percentage tariff on you, when that's not really what that country does.
There was a 90-day pause on those, so they're going to come to the table and negotiate.
Let's be honest here. That's not exactly correct. You still have the tariffs on China,
Yep.
which
And you're
first of
telling me
all
China
affect
just
nearly
makes socks?
everything we buy. And then the other countries that I mentioned, there's still the 10%. What is that for? What is it for?
Well, what is it
These
for?
guys are morons, Tommy. Can you just admit? Can you just tell me that? Can you give me that, please?
Oh, yeah.
These guys are morons.
Michael, so do you think that the rest of the world should be able to rip us off? Do you think that we should have the trade
That's not a
deficit
real
that
question.
we have? No, that's my question. You
Actually, I want to answer that question for you. Global trade is the reason we can go to Amazon and buy socks for $5.
From that one
Global
sock
trade
country.
is the reason. Donald Trump's own companies, his tie company, the suits that he made, those cheap suits, those are made abroad. Those weren't even made in the United States of America, right? The reason we can buy stuff cheap in America at Walmart, and I know you don't shop at Walmart, Tommy, but the rest of us real Americans do.
How do you know
So
where I
Walmart,
shop, Michael?
Target, Amazon, those things are all cheap because of global trade. You can't say that people are ripping us off because they specialize in one thing that we don't
So
specialize
you don't
in.
think that China's ripping us off, Michael?
That's why Barack Obama created the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which neutralized the global trade advantage that China had. Donald Trump then comes in and withdraws from it.
China's not taking advantage of the United States
I think
of America.
Donald Trump gave China a sweetheart deal by withdrawing from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's what I think.
So
That's what I
just
think.
want to get it on record. You don't think China, as it stands, is ripping us off?
I think Barack Obama came into office and said we have to neutralize the global trade advantage
Did he
that
do
China
that then?
has.
Then why is
I'm
it
going
not
to put together a
neutralized?
global trade deal. He did that. Donald Trump came in and withdrew and gave a sweetheart deal to China. That's what I know to be the
So
case.
you think that
saying
now-
they're ripping us off, that's not really a real
Wait,
question.
wait,
That's a
wait.
Donald Trump
Here's
question.
my thing. Here's my question.
Yes.
Both things cannot be true. You cannot say that we're going too hard on China and China's not ripping us off.
That's not what I said. That's not even what I said. That's not even. Listen, you can't have this conversation with me because I know this better than anyone. What I'm saying to you is the TPP, which is the Trans-Pacific Partnership that Barack Obama negotiated, was designed to neutralize the global trade advantage that China had. It was groundbreaking. He delivered that. Donald Trump comes into office, the guy who claims China has an unfair advantage, the guy who makes all these reckless claims, he withdraws from that deal, which was a sweetheart deal for the Chinese. He gave them a gift. My question to you is, why does nearly everything he do benefit China and or Russia? That's the real question.
I'm really confused
Trump
as to
withdrawing
how
from
you're saying
TPP
that this
made this worse. He made it worse, Tommy.
I'm really trying to figure out how you can tell me, and I'm really just trying to understand how you can say that right now the tariffs that we've put in place on China are a sweetheart
It's not on China, it's on American consumers.
China.
Let's be clear about that. Tariffs are a tax on the consumer. What happens is when you raise the tax on a country that's importing goods, it gets passed on to the companies, which passes it on to the consumer. So when Donald Trump enacts tariffs, quote, on China, he's really raising the taxes on Molly in Nebraska when she wants to buy a pair of socks. Let's just be clear there. Go ahead with your question.
Michael, do you think that HVAC jobs are important? I want to play a clip and then I want to get your response.
Okay.
The other thing that this president is promising is jobs, right? Is it worth it to upend the global economy for HVAC jobs, right? Which is what Howard Lutnick is talking about, that these factories will be largely automated, but then there'll be mechanics who are, I guess, fixing the machines and fixing the robots and the HVAC systems. So they are making big promises. When they can deliver is still an open question.
People that work in the HVAC industry, we just screw them? What do you think?
I'm a working class kid from Chicago. I have friends and family members that are HVAC people and plumbers and laborers. I love those jobs and we need those jobs. And we should actually be structuring an American educational system that facilitates those. So instead of destroying the Department of Education and destroying our national education system, if Donald Trump actually cared about HVAC jobs and American laborers, what he would do is give us what we had in the 50s and 60s, which is if you're a kid in high school who's interested in being an HVAC guy or a plumber or anything else, you can learn those skills while in high school so that you can graduate high school and start doing those jobs. I love that. I actually think college is a scam for half of Americans. I think half of Americans have no business going to college, incurring $100,000, $200,000 in debt, and hopefully being able to make 50 grand a year. That makes absolutely no sense. HVAC jobs, labor jobs are important jobs in America, and Donald Trump should actually do something to help those people and facilitate that instead of just giving us this rhetoric. So to answer your question, I love those jobs, Tomi.
Yeah.
Do you?
So of course I do, which is why I love tariffs that are enticing companies to bring their manufacturing.
But they're not. They're not.
They are. There's been.
I'm going to tell you why. Many of my clients are CEOs. I talk to these guys multiple times a week, every single week. And they all say the same thing, which is Trump won't give us stability. Trump won't give us certainty. So I'm not investing in bringing anything back to the States because he might change his mind from Tuesday to Thursday. And I've signed off on spending $100 million. And so, no, listen, this is not what I read in the Wall Street Journal, Tomi. I'm saying these are conversations that I have with Fortune 500 CEOs. And so Donald Trump can say those jobs are coming back, but they're not. And the main reason is that Donald Trump is so chaotic that he's not giving American business leaders certainty on where they can invest and where they should invest.
So all these investments that have come in since President Trump has been in office, those aren't real investments?
What investments are you referring to specifically?
Apple, NVIDIA, Honda now looking.
Those were all many of those were from the CHIPS Act that Joe Biden delivered in the previous administration. So let's be clear. Apple specifically and many others, those are holdovers from the CHIPS Act, which is a Democratic priority that Joe Biden delivered. You know, the reason they call him Sleepy Joe is because you can actually sleep at night with him being president.
Oh, God, did you just steal a Jasmine Crockett line?
It's true.
Did you just repeat a
By the way,
are you ripping off Jasmine
I didn't really know
Crockett?
her. I just had her at this event I had a couple weeks ago. She's fantastic. I love her. You would love her too.
Sure. I mean, you know what? Actually, I'm going to give you I do love her. I love her for Democrats. I think you guys should just keep letting her talk. I think that as much as you possibly can, put her on the forefront. Because
can we just talk about something for a minute, Tomi?
Let's go for
And
it.
look, I say all these things about the Trump administration, and they're true. Donald Trump is a moron. These guys are, half of them are trust fund baby morons who couldn't figure their way out of a paper bag. And I do think that many of the things they do help China and they help Russia. But let me just say this. We have to come back to a sane place in this country. All of these personal attacks that we hurl against the other side.
You just called Trump a moron.
Listen
and
to
you
me.
just called everyone in his administration
but honestly,
a moron.
I'm
And
not
then you're going
trying
to say
to
we got to
insult
be
them.
nice?
I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest here. But here's the thing. Can we just be friends again? That's all. For the sake of America, for the sake of our grandchildren, let's stop being at a place where we try to deport people who don't agree with our political ideology. Let's get to a place where we can disagree from 9 to 5 and have a delicious steak dinner from 6 to 8, like Ted Kennedy and John Warner and Orrin Hatch and all these guys used to do. Can we get back to that place of sanity?
I would love to. But y'all leftists got to stop, firebombing
Y'all
Teslas.
leftists.
Yeah, you guys got to stop.
That's so hurtful. Why would you? First of all, how do you know that I'm a leftist?
Well, you're not a righty, I don't think.
I mean, I'm not crazy. Of course, I'm not a righty.
See, Michael, you
like
just sit
that?
here and said we
You
all
like that?
need to get together.
No, but
and
listen.
You said morons. You said right.
Okay,
people
listen.
right are
I, like most
crazy.
people, am somewhere near the middle.
You don't
I'm
sound
very
like you're
reasonable.
near the middle to me, but you and I
It's
have
true.
great conversations. I want to ask you about.
Yes.
Speaking of that, you think what Bernie Sanders is doing? Do you think that he's going to be the new voice of your party, and should he be?
Tommy, now I love Bernie Sanders. I love him and Larry David, his twin. I think they're both fantastic. I think Bernie Sanders says many smart things. We both know he's never going to be the face of our party, and he's certainly not the future of our party. I do think the Democrats are the party of the working person, and they should continue to lean into that. All of the great social programs that help working families come from the Democratic Party. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act. These are all Democratic priorities. But we should talk more about those things instead of talking about these other social issues that we often talk about. Bernie Sanders, while he and I disagree on many things, I think we agree on the fact that the working person in America has been left behind. You've got CEO pay skyrocketing over the past 50 years. You got productivity skyrocketing, and you've got stagnant wages. That should be a common sense bipartisan consensus. And we have to fix this and address this in a bipartisan way going forward, because you got rising prices. The cost of living in general just continues to rise from decade to decade, and people can't afford to get by. And someone has to do something about that. The government allowed CEO pay to skyrocket, notwithstanding widespread fraud in some situations and notwithstanding the lack of regulation in some situations. And so the government has to figure out a way to make it so that Joe, who works, 60, 70 hours a week, can make a good living and doesn't have to work himself to death to try to provide for his family.
Right. That's why we need to bring those HVAC jobs. And also maybe stop importing illegal alien slave labor. That's just my take on it.
Are you prepared to go work in the orange fields, Tommy? I'm looking forward to seeing you out there.
Not me specifically, but I am from South Dakota,
you specifically.
so my family does farm and ranch. I'm not saying everybody needs to pick oranges. I'm just saying
I think you've got
great
picking. You've got like dainty picking hands, so I think you'd be fantastic out there. I'm looking forward to it.
You're probably right. You're probably right. I might be good at it. I do come from an agriculture state, so agriculture actually is really important to the people in my state, and they're not too good to do those jobs. I come from a family of ranchers. Really hard work, by the way. I want to ask, let's see, where do we go next? What did you think about that Blue Origin space launch yesterday? Did you think it was the divine feminine?
It was nonsense. Listen, as a PR guy, I'm fine with PR stunts, but it was a PR stunt that's not really worth our attention. I think that, space travel and Blue Origin and all these other companies, what they do is fine. I don't think it's relevant for most Americans who are struggling to get by. I don't think it's relevant for world leaders who have a world in chaos that they have to figure out serious decisions for. And so to be honest with you, I saw the story and rolled my eyes because I think it's irrelevant to me and most Americans.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I thought it was stupid, and I thought it was interesting, too, the way they were so excited to pat themselves on the back because they went to space with all their training for 11 minutes. I thought it was
But
dumb.
Tommy, this is why people hate the elites. This is exactly why. People are struggling to buy groceries, and you're patting yourself on the back for sending a bunch of rich people in a tube into space. And you think that's a great story.
I don't disagree with you. You and I are on the same page on that. Let's go over one last thing, and we'll see if we're on the same page. Do you think that the bond should have been lowered for Karmelo Anthony out of Frisco, Texas, who admittedly stabbed Austin Metcalf to death at a track meet?
This is an interesting story because the right-wing nerds have really picked up on this. And I see Elon Musk has Twitter going overboard and really trying to make this a story on a day-to-day basis.
You don't think a 17-year-old getting murdered at a track meet is a story, Michael? I think it's a story.
I'm going to answer your question. It seems to me, first of all, most people don't have the proper information in this particular story. I'll tell you what I know. It looks like this kid was at a track meet and he was sitting in a tent that belonged to another team. I think he was by himself. He was then approached by at least 2 kids, the gentleman who was stabbed and his brother, and perhaps even more people. And there was a confrontation. The witnesses claim that this kid came up to Mr. Anthony and politely asked him to leave. I know that that's bullshit because I've been a teenage guy before, and there's no teenage guy on earth who sees a guy from a rival school in his school tent and walks up and says, "I'm sorry, can you please leave our tent?" That's not reasonable, and it's just not honest. So that is what it is. There's a confrontation, and Mr. Anthony apparently stabbed this young man, unfortunately, and he lost his life. This, to me, seems like an open and shut case of self-defense and stand your ground in a stand your ground state, which Texas is.
Whoa.
But no.
We were doing okay. We were doing okay.
No, I'm answering your question.
Oh, God.
No,
What?
my job is not to agree with you, Tommy. My job is to be honest with you.
Okay.
Texas, this happened in a stand your ground state, which says if you feel threatened and afraid, you can defend yourself, which is exactly what Mr. Anthony did. And so I know the right has taken this up as their theme because one guy is white and one guy is black. It's not about any of those things. It's about the fact that the law in that state says that this young man could defend himself if he felt threatened. And certainly if you're by yourself in this tent, surrounded by guys that you don't know, and you get ambushed by those guys, you certainly want to defend yourself. And so that's what I see
There's
here.
no evidence to suggest he was ambushed by anybody. Here's my question for you. Why would anybody on God's green earth bring a knife to a high school track meet?
Why would anyone on God's green earth go up to someone they don't know and apparently threaten them in some way
say,
with
"Get out
their
of my
friends with physical violence?"
You just said that you know what it's like to be a teenager. Listen,
but that doesn't mean that he was right. No, I'm going to answer your question.
You say, "Hey, get
Just
out of
because
here."
I know what it's like, that means that I've been a teenage guy before, and I know that teenage guys make poor decisions. There was nothing that should have allowed this young man. He had no authority to go question this other young man as it relates to why he was there.
I'm having a really hard time with this because it sounds like to me that you are comparing somebody saying, "Get out of our tent," to somebody stabbing someone in the chest.
I'm not comparing
to
anything.
Death. You're
Listen
saying,
to what I'm saying to you.
What you're
he had
doing
no
is you're
authority
victim
to do
blaming.
that. He should not.
No
what he should have done
Are
is
you
going to
kidding
find
me?
an adult and said to the adult, "I don't think this young man is on our team," and let the adult deal with it. That's not what he did. Instead, he confronted him, and this unfortunate situation happened in a stand your ground state. Again, the proper thing here would have been for this young man to find an adult and let the adult deal with the situation.
You think that
he chose to confront this other young man?
A 17-year-old at a track meet doesn't have the jurisdiction to say, "Hey, you're in our tent,
No, he doesn't.
beat it."
No, and you know he doesn't. He should have found an adult. That's what children are supposed to do. He's in high school. He's not an adult. It's unfortunate that there was a loss of life.
Why
That's
did he bring
obviously
a knife to
regrettable.
a track meet? You don't think that's premeditated?
But let's not pretend.
Why did he bring a knife to a track meet? That is what I do not understand. Can you please explain to me the justification for a teenager to bring a knife to a track meet?
Yeah, but you and I both know that's misdirection.
No, that's
You
my
know
question
why?
for you. Why? Because that's
You know why it's
premeditated.
misdirection?
There's just no reason.
It's because, again, I'm assuming here, as we're all assuming, because none of us exactly know what happened. It's my understanding that Mr. Anthony was at the meet. He was by himself in this tent, and he was confronted by this other young man and his brother and perhaps other people. And so what I'm saying to you is that, to me, is the crux of the problem here. This young man should have gone to an adult and asked the adult to deal with it. He confronts this guy. Hold on.
Carmelo Anthony
He confronts this
stabbed
guy
someone in the
a stand your ground state. It is a stand your ground state. Do we believe in the law or do we not believe in the law?
Here's my question, Michael. So
Yes.
in a stand your ground state, let's say I'm in Dallas. I used to live in Dallas. I'm in Dallas, right? And I'm in line at a Starbucks and somebody cuts me in the line and I'm like, "Hey, you cut me in the line."
It's not the same thing.
And then they feel threatened. No, it really is. And then they
It's
feel
not the same
threatened by
thing.
that. And I'm with all my girlfriends and we're like, "Hey, you cut us in the line." And then that person turns around and goes, "Bam, I'm going to stab you in the chest. I felt threatened." Do you think
If you're
that's
sitting
the
in
correct
Starbucks at your
interpretation of
table
stand
and
your
someone
ground?
walks up to you and says, "Hey, this is my table. Get out of my
Yeah.
table. This is my table."
Yeah.
Right? And if that person is accompanied by at least one other people and perhaps other people, and by the way, we don't actually know the conversation that happened. So that's the other problem here. As we think about the escalation between the confrontation, the initial approach, and the stabbing, what was the conversation there? I think that the reality.
The police report, the
just listen to me,
conversation
Tommy.
was touch me and see what happens.
Why would a guy need to feel that way if it was a friendly conversation?
Why would a guy need to bring a knife to a track meet?
Yeah,
Michael,
but let's answer the first question first, Tommy. Why would he feel the need to say that if it was a friendly conversation? And the reason is that it was not a friendly conversation.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter if you have it. People have conversations all the time that are
was he threatened is the question.
It doesn't
was Mr.
mean,
Anthony threatened verbally or physically by these other guys?
Well, apparently.
You don't know that, and I don't either.
According to the police report, it was Anthony who said, touch me and see what happens.
Yeah, but that's not the complete story, and you know that. I just laid out to you the part that's missing.
I guess for now, we'll just all carry knives around in case someone pisses us off. And if, that happens,
that's what they do in Texas anyway. Don't they carry around shotguns?
Okay, well.
That's what you guys do?
Oh, Lord almighty. Michael.
You people?
Michael, my people. My people. Oh, good Lord. Always an interesting conversation. We've managed to accomplish absolutely nothing, but boy, was it entertaining for me. Thank you as always for being here. I will welcome you back anytime, and we'll have some more wonderful conversation. Have a wonderful day. I know it's tax day, your favorite.
Take care, Tommy.
All right, folks. When news broke that a deranged arsonist attempted to assassinate Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, I didn't base my reaction or concern on his political affiliation. Wouldn't it be nice if Democrats could do the same when the roles are reversed? Well, it's time for final thoughts. Over the weekend, a deranged arsonist attempted to burn down the Pennsylvania governor's mansion with Governor Shapiro and his family inside. The psycho also allegedly planned to take out the governor with a hammer. It's horrific that someone would do this. End of sentence. No but, no understanding of the sentiment, no grace for the perpetrator regardless of his affiliation or motivation or race or anything else. See? That wasn't hard. It wasn't hard to fully condemn violence against Governor Shapiro and his family, even though he's a Democrat and I'm a Republican. Wouldn't it be nice if the leftists could afford the same respect and decency when this kind of thing happens to a conservative, a Trump, a healthcare CEO, or a white teenager? Because that sure seems to be hard for them to muster up the strength to do. After both assassination attempts on President Trump's life, Democrats condemned it, sorta, but they had to add that but, offer understanding, and of course, continue to label him as a Nazi, a fascist, a threat to democracy, and more. A similar cohort of folks also celebrated the cold-blooded murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, and there's an entire contingency of folks out there enamored and in love with the accused killer, Luigi Mangione. Same with the attacks on Tesla dealerships, vehicles, charging stations, and drivers. Many top Democrats just could not and will not find it within themselves to condemn it. The latest example is the one we just talked about, the celebration of Karmelo Anthony, who allegedly but quite admittedly stabbed Austin Metcalf to death at a high school track meet. In fact, Anthony's Give, Send, Go has surpassed that of the Metcalf family by thousands. The justification for that? Well, for some, it's a race thing. Wild and sad times we're living in where violence, death, and pain are weighed on a political scale before reactions are given. It's just not hard to be decent. And those are my final thoughts. I'll see you right back here live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.